We have such an important issue to talk about, and I think we're going to save a few minutes for questions. Is that right? So just ask whatever is on your mind about transportation. AASHTO is such a great organization, and I can't tell you what you mean to me personally, because without AASHTO, we would never have done MAP 21. We wouldn't have gotten it done. And we had to do just everything to get it done. And frankly, that was a warm-up for what faces us now. And I certainly look forward to working with you to strengthen our transportation system and, frankly, to save it. Save it. Let me repeat, we need to save the Highway Trust Fund, a fund that's been in place since 1956, but it is threatened with extinction. So to me, failure is not an option, and I know to you failure is not an option, and we're going to have to fight hard to make sure that that trust fund is solid going forward for the next 5, 6 years at least. In 2012, I was proud to chair the House-Senate Conference Committee that did produce MAP 21, Moving Ahead for Progress. I don't know how many of you know how we got to that name, but before it was called MAP 21, it was called Safety Lou. And that Safety Lou got its name. When I first heard it, I thought it was Safety Lube. And I thought, well, that's interesting. But it turns out it was named after Don Young's wife, Lulu. And I came home to my husband, and when I became chairman, I said, wow, what a situation. We can name the next bill Safety Stew after you. He said, I'll kill you if you do that. So anyway, moving ahead for progress in the 21st century, that's the story behind that. And it wouldn't have been possible without AASHTO's support. You know how hard it is to get legislation through the Congress these days. It's almost impossible. It's almost impossible. But there are some shining lights, and we're going to be one of them. Passing MAP 21 was critical to helping get this economy back on track because it saved nearly 3 million jobs. As transportation stakeholders and leaders, you know better than anyone the importance of maintaining a safe and efficient transportation system. So when we worked on MAP 21, we worked with state transportation secretaries to identify ways to improve our federal program. And we really made transformational reforms that were included in the bill that improve flexibility and reduce costs and require accountability for our surface transportation programs. So now that we've thought about those reforms and we agreed on those reforms, you know, our job should be relatively easy if it wasn't for the fact that we're facing this shortfall. And you all know why we're facing it. The gas tax is not keeping up with inflation, and it is not keeping up with the wonderful innovations that we have to save gas, and that's so important. So this is a situation that we can't, this isn't temporary, this is something we have to deal with. We see where the trend is going with the gas tax. We're running out of time, but around here, if I told you this 6 months ago, we wouldn't feel that sense of urgency. But now we know. And let me give you the facts in case you don't know them, and you probably know them, but it's okay. It's good that you know that I know them. Because here's what they are. CBO and DOT estimate that the Highway Trust Fund could run out of funds as early as September. That's 2014. Which would create cash flow problems for states during the critical summer construction time. Due to this uncertainty, many of your states are already beginning to develop contingency plans to prepare for possible reductions in federal transportation funding. And I don't want that to continue, but it's smart to do it, and it does put pressure on members of Congress. It was a smart thing to do, A, because you have to be prudent, and B, you have to show everyone what transportation will look like in your state if you can't count on federal funding. There are serious consequences if we don't act. States may be required to cut pending projects from current funding plans, or they may be unable to obligate any federal funds for any new projects in fiscal year 2015, because some states may have to consider postponing putting construction contracts out to bid. Businesses will be reluctant to invest, and that impact will be felt throughout the entire economy. Let me be clear, and I'm saying it in all different ways, but this is the clearest I can be. The pending Highway Trust Fund shortfall must be addressed by an infusion of funds. Otherwise, CBO estimates that obligations for new projects in 2015 would need to be reduced to zero. Zero. This would result in federal highway safety, transit funding being cut by $50.8 billion in fiscal year 2015, with almost 1.8 million jobs lost. Only old projects could be funded. No new projects could be funded. So we have to work together to find the sweet spot for a dependable bipartisan source of funding for the Highway Trust Fund. A strong transportation system is vital to ensuring the economic competitiveness of the United States, and this requires maintaining federal investments in our transportation infrastructure. I know that a lot of your leaders are aware that I've begun work on the new bill. It's going well. I've sat down with every single member of my committee, and we know what the challenges are. I plan to mark up in the spring, probably in April, with the bill. We had amazing hearings on this, and it's very rare to see Richard Trumka sitting next to Tom Donahue, the Chamber and the AFL, hand in hand on this, which is very, very helpful. And you, AASHTO, you've always helped us bring forward people from the states to testify that have a meaningful influence on our members. And we heard from AASHTO's new president about the importance of maintaining federal investments. We all know why it's so critical. I will report to you that I have been working well with Senator Vitter on this, just as we have worked really well on the Water Resources Development Act, which is in conference, as was mentioned, and we have gone through now the most problematic issues and resolved them. So I'm very, very hopeful we'll have that out of conference shortly. Chairman Schuster and I work very well together, and his ranking member, Ray Hall. And we have meetings in my office almost every week on the Word of Bill. It's become kind of a ritual where we tell the staff, these are the issues we want you to get done this week. Let's meet next week. Tell us they were done. And so far, it's working very well. So that bodes well for us in WRDA, and I think in the highway bill as well. Here's the thing. Our committee doesn't do the funding, as you probably know. Our committee does the authorization of the transportation program, not the transit piece, but the highway piece. The transit piece is done in another committee I sit on, which is Commerce, but we do the big authorization in our committee. The funding piece is done in the Finance Committee and Ways and Means in the House. The great news I have to tell you is that I have had several conversations with Senator Wyden and conversations with Senator Hatch. I believe they are very engaged in this. And the more that you can get them engaged and keep them engaged, and I know some of you are going to go see the chairman today. Also, the ranking member is very important. And I know the House side, even though I was there 10 years, is a whole different, lots of more tea over there being served. So I don't understand the House as well as I used to. But I did work with them on MAP 21, and they did come forward. And it was hard. It was difficult. But you really helped me do it. So just to give you the picture, the full picture, we intend to mark up a highway bill in April. I'll need your help getting it done, but I feel comfortable. It will be hopefully a 5 to 6 year bill. It will probably be current levels plus inflation. The TIFIA program has an amazing leverage on our jobs and our work, so I view the TIFIA program as a way to really increase, through leverage, the amount of money being spent out there. Now, the and then it's going to go to finance, and you need to help me with finance starting now, to get them terribly engaged in this so they understand. Either we're going to replace the gas tax with another way of funding, which I love, which is the fee at the refinery level. I think I may be the only one that likes that idea, so I haven't seen a groundswell of support for that idea. There are many other ideas. The administration, you're going to be hearing from them today, is that right? I think you'll be excited at what they have done on this whole area of transportation. It's very, very good. And they're looking at tax reform, which is certainly one way to make sure we have the funding for 6 years. I'm going to be very honest with you, although you probably asked me this. I don't see support for raising the gas tax, and there is absolutely no way we're going to cut spending. So it's going to have to be a creative way to fund this in reality. And as far as I'm concerned, there are so many better ways than that. You know, also a way to figure out vehicle miles traveled without an intrusive black box, which you could do, but I don't see it. And so I'm a pragmatist, and I want to just get this done for us. So I think we got to work with the realities, which is you're not going to get a gas tax increase. I mean, I've told that to Mr. Donahue, and I don't see it. So, and we're not going to cut education, you know, and we're not going to repeal the Affordable Care Act. Let that be known. It's not happening. So let's be pragmatic. Let's not engage in ideological squabbles about a pay-for. Let's just find one, you know, and there are many out there in tax reform. So I think that's where we'll be. Now, having said that, Senator Wyden may have some other ideas up his sleeve, too, that it would be better if we had a long-term way to fill that trust fund, like the gas tax, for sure. Now, a number of states, led by both Republican and Democratic governors, have certainly acted without us, but they need us to leverage their programs. And the states have been real good models on this. They've worked in a bipartisan way, and we can too, and we will. So I'm going to call on you in the coming weeks to help. As transportation leaders who are responsible for roads and bridges in your states, your voices are so important. Your voices are so important. And again, I urge you to speak to everyone who will listen to you about this, as far as, and try to see the member themselves. It's good to see the staff, but I'm going to be honest, it's better to see the member. So use your clout, which you have. Use your juice, which you have, and see the member. It's that important. I mean, basically, what else do we do that creates so many jobs in our states? Very little, frankly. This is a big one. This is an important one. So, you know, I know this is not a rally, although we may have to have some. This is certainly not a demonstration, but we may need to have them. But despite that, and despite the fact that it's really early and you look, I'm keeping you up, but barely, I'm going to ask you a question. Will you help us get this done? Oh, that is weak. All right, raise your hands if you'll help me get this done. All right. You know, I'm used to talking to those crowds of Democrats at home. Yeah, go. But we have to go, and we have to do, because you represent such an important piece of America. You really do. And it's not about partisanship. It's about our way of life. It's about our good jobs, our healthy businesses, and it's about moving us forward. And that's what you're about. So I'm thrilled to be here with you this morning. I'm glad you came, and I'm glad that I was able to live 6 blocks away. That's very helpful, so I could get here as well. And I wish you a great, is it all day, this conference? A great conference, and I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you so very much. Thank you.